Welcome to the first tapings from the UK tour, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, we're doing the UK tour. Nothing wrong with it because I always love the UK fans because they really express how they feel. Unlike most American fans, I'm sorry, I'm an American fan, they don't have much interest in shit. I mean, the tapings from New York were cool, but if they go somewhere else in the United States, a lot of times they find flat fans. Not saying they're all flat, but they can't find them. I gotta say, the opening of the show before they went into the arena with Kurt Angle doing the long, well actually wasn't that long, segment was actually nice. Unlike the WWE, they don't go outside their venues. They always do all their stuff inside. So I gotta say, thumbs up for TNA actually doing some stuff outside the arena. Because that really gives a better dynamic. It does. And when you do look at the segment with Kurt Angle, Lashley, and the Beatdown Clan, one, Lashley actually sounded pretty good. And he's not a very good talker. And he talked well here. Two, Angle didn't talk a lot. Even though he did talk in the beginning. Three, it was 6 minutes long. Mind-blowing how much you can get into a 6-minute promo segment in the beginning of a show. Unlike the WWE has to do almost 20 minutes of a fucking promo, and if anyone defends this, give me a reason why the WWE, who has 3 times the amount of time, can't really convey what they really want to do within 6 to 10 minutes, like they used to. They used to be able to convey a lot more information than what they're doing now. I say again, thumbs up to TNA. But it does not mean we got a perfect product here. This product was not perfect and it gave a lot of weirdness that I'm not sure how to feel about. Let's get to the 2 out of 3 fall handicap match between Spud and the Boot Camp Brigade, and I'm going to call them the Boot Camp Brigade from now on, against EC3 and Tyrus. Now EC3 did very, very good backstage segments. He always talks very well. Tyrus does what he's supposed to. Don't talk a damn thing. But I still believe Tyrus needs to change his clothing. And please get rid of that fucking beard. I just don't like it. But tell me, if anyone who loves beards, I'm not against them, but Tyrus just doesn't look right being the bodyguard of an EC3, and he doesn't look the part. He just doesn't look right with the big beard and wearing the ring attire. He needs to be like a bouncer. That's what I believe he really needs. The match was... Spud had the best spot here. Mandrew was alright, and then when you see Jeremy start trying to kick the ass of a EC3, I say at least he does a decent job. But here's the problem for me. Why Anderson? Really? Why? That's the thing that's confusing me. If they believe Rockstar Spud doesn't have enough strength, you want to throw Mr. Anderson in it because he helped them last year. In some ways it makes some sense, but honestly it's taking away from Spud. The person who truly needs to go over here is Rockstar Spud. Mandrews comes after that. Jeremy's supposed to be the manager. But when you throw Mr. Anderson in, it really does not help. But I do understand the reason why they're doing this. If this is still going with Spud, you must get rid of Tyrus. So all 3 of them are no match for Tyrus. So now Mr. Anderson's going to deal with Tyrus, while EC3 will finally deal with, who are we talking about? Rockstar Spud has left the building with that lip of his like this. I'm glad he can talk because he doesn't have muscles right there. Now, the Eli segment. And the reason I'm bringing Eli is because Austin Aries and Bobby Roode had a match, which I believe was the best match of the night. It was. I believe it was a very good match. It felt very generic at the end. The beginning with Austin Aries and Bobby Roode, I always say Robert, and Bobby Roode was okay. But at the end, it felt very generic because saying, that is pro wrestling, that's how it goes. It's very cheesy, it's very generic. doesn't mean it was bad because the crowd made it good. And I will say the Glasgow Scotland crowd really made this show so good. It gave it a nice dynamic. But I will say it was very generic. Until Eli comes out, pile drives him twice, and spits on him. I gotta say this. Eli has always been notorious to be given the most stupidest gimmicks. And when he's serious, a lot of people think he's very generic like Daniel Bryan. Now, Daniel Bryan's not totally generic, and neither is Eli. In this situation, he didn't need to talk. His actions spoke much better than his words. I enjoyed Eli pile driving the shit out of a Bobby Roode. He did a good job here. Spitting on him, to me, was the best thing. And Bobby Roode flinching to that showed that he really didn't expect it. He ad-libbed that. Now, I'm sure Eli at the end had to say, I'm sorry, Bobby, got to spit on you, but I'm telling you right now, it was necessary. These people love me. He said, you know what? I wasn't too fond of you spitting on me, but damn, you were right, because the crowd was fucking mad. They were mad. And even if you think it isn't that strong of a feud right now, and it isn't, it's been settled. But I honestly am going to say this. That little segment with that 2 pile drives and particularly the spitting on Bobby Roode really made it more interesting for me. I don't know what they're going to do with this, and to be honest, I think they need to go away from this now because there really wasn't that much going into it. But it's alright. Now here's another thing that you think that TNA may not go into this, but it may actually get somewhere. Al Snow dealing with Grado. And I'm actually glad to see this. I really do believe that this is only a temporary thing because Grado may not come to the United States. But if he does, they're actually doing this in a decent way. He didn't make it on British Boot Camp #2. But the crowd loved him. So this segment with his mom, his dad, Al Snow putting him over pretty well. Al Snow is getting damn gray, dude. Woo! But you know what? It may still work. Now, I don't know if Grado's going to translate well into WWE. Well, no, I'm about to say WWE. If this was a WWE thing, it would not translate that well. And when you consider this, that Rockstar Spud did not translate well at first to the American crowd, that's what I'm worried about with Grado. He may not transfer well to the crowd. I would rather see him do, like I said, for a Drew Galloway. Come out in a fucking kilt and kick some fucking ass in a fucking kilt. Well, and then take off the kilt and go wrestle. I really believe that if it's not him, Drew Galloway, if you didn't see my debate of the week on it, look at it. I really believe that they could do something well if they take their true heritage of wearing the kilt and run with it. But we never know. But I'll be glad if this does get built up pretty well. Awesome Kong versus Madison Rayne, which was nothing. It was short, sweet, to the point. They want Awesome Kong to go up against Terrence Terrell. I do believe they want Awesome Kong to have that title because now the knockouts will have to climb a big mountain to get it. And I really do agree with that. I do believe that Awesome Kong should not be in line first before Havoc. Because Havoc still hasn't gotten her rematch clause. And I do believe Havoc deserves it. But they're going with Kong first. So I will deal with that as it is. And I'm really sad that, and I want to say this on a true note, hearing that Havoc's dad died is so sad. If Havoc ever saw this, I'm sorry your dad died. No one deserved to see that. And I put my heartfelt condolences to her. Now, the backstage segments were pretty substantial. Even though they're very short, it was with the Beatdown Clan beating down most of the time in Austin Aries. A Gunner wasn't too bad. I mean, Gunner did a nice segment with Angle. Didn't do bad. He did a second segment before he got his ass beat up. Then Austin Aries did a nice segment. And then he got his ass beat up. And I believe this is building up for the gauntlet next week. I'm not too fond of seeing a gauntlet because it is a Royal Rumble match. Let's be honest, that's what it is. And questioning, will they do something with the winner? That's another thing. I'm not sure if they're going to build the person who wins it properly. I'm actually worried about that. Because the way that they're dealing with this, unless it's going to be MVP or it's going to be Rude or basically Angle, anyone else, I don't think they're going to give them something well built to go with. The Matt Hardy segment with Storm. Now we know what's going on with Jeff. But I gotta say, it was not that good in the very beginning with Matt. It just didn't sound right the way he was saying it. But by the time Storm came out, it made it a lot better. And when he said, and I'm talking about Storm, the leader of the Storm Evolution, he said simply, either join me or get beat down. Matt made it sound very good. He said, you know what? My brother does have a nice bed, and starts trying to beat the crap out of Storm, which I'm alright with. And now that the Wolves are now dealing with the Evolution, the problem I see is that there's not any tag teams there. Now that the Dudleys are not there, British Boot Camp Brigade is busy right now with EC3 and Tyrus, and they're not going to do anything. Bram and Magnus are not doing anything, and I will get to Bram in a moment. It kind of feels empty in the tag teams right now. They're just going to drag this out until they get back into the United States so Jeff can finally go back onto the roster. And now that I talk about Bram versus Crazy Steve. It ties into what happened 2 weeks ago. And seeing Bram scream for Magnus was cool. I'm alright with that. There was no problem with that. But the question's going to be, how far are they going to go with this? If you saw my Magnus debate of the week, you could see that if they use his family, his son, it doesn't have to be a Mickie Jane, because she's now going to be on the roster. We haven't seen her yet, but we will see her soon. But if you focus on Magnus' son as the driving force behind Magnus becoming world champion again, it actually could work. Having a father figure, a man who wants to provide for his son, for his family, actually would make sense here. Having his buddy try to take him out because he's taking away his son's livelihood would be the best option for them. So when Magnus comes back, please TNA, hammer this home that Magnus is fighting for his son, his now infant son. Hammer this home and the crowd will go over with it. But you never know. The last thing I'm going to talk about is, let me see if I'm forgetting anything. No, I don't believe I am. If I am, I'm sorry. The tag team match of the Beatdown Clan of MVP and Joe versus Lashley and Angle. Like I said, I'm worried how they're structuring the show, particularly with the gauntlet match, because I'm not 100% interested in a gauntlet match right now. You could leave this for a pay-per-view style Impact. But this isn't going to be a pay-per-view style Impact. It's going to be a UK Impact. The question is going to be, to me, if they're trying to set this up for Angle versus Lashley, or Angle versus Rude, or Angle versus MVP, this match just didn't really do it for me. It just didn't. I'm very worried about this. It was a good match. And at the end, MVP won, so it makes it more for MVP to be over. But having so many different angles at once on one show instead of dividing it up into a couple of shows really makes it difficult to really believe that this is going to work. Because if they did the gauntlet match 3 weeks ahead of time, let's say when they were doing the New York tapings, they started saying, you know, when we're in the UK, we are going to do the gauntlet matches. Gauntlet match, I'm sorry. And we didn't get that. So they didn't give it time to build up. And they put so many different angles at once on one show, it really doesn't feel like it's going to work. Doesn't mean it wasn't a bad show. This was a good show, but it's kind of quirky. And it doesn't mean it's going to translate well when it finally happens. I'm glad that TNA is doing better with this product. And now I'm saying product. I'm thinking about something else. I'm thinking about how my next debate is coming up. I'm sorry. But when you look at the product right now with TNA, it just doesn't feel like it's very good yet. And I said it's going to take at least 6 months before we really see some benefit, if any. So I'm actually very worried about this. But you guys tell me below, was the show good or not? And I hope you enjoyed this week in Impact. Excuse me. Still not feeling well. Crazy weather, snowing again in New York. But who cares? This is a good review. And watch out for my debate of the week. It'll probably be Sunday or Monday. Sunday or Monday is going up. It's about Rikishi. Sorry it's a week late. But as you know, I was doing several debate of the weeks back to back to back. This one's a little late. Sorry about that. But have a good day and have a good night. Peace!